Hi, this is Andy Collin and Chris Pomeroy from Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, and we are here with our podcast Movie Chat with some of our local students and friends that went off into the movie and entertainment industry. Today we are here with Laurel Carini, who you may recognize in the background of many TV shows, or you might recognize her voice on Transylvania 2. Here's Laurel Carini. Amazing, to hear all these struggles of all the filmmakers and what they had to go through. I mean, Spielberg talking about Jaws and his career was almost over. And then Jaws came out and he was worried because the shark didn't even work, you
Yeah,
know?
and look at him now. Look at him now.
Yeah,
Now.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
feel like, too, the thing with Spielberg is that he's a filmmaker that makes films that he would like to see. I mean, yes, he's commercial in that he thinks of a market for his film and then really goes in on it. But like Rodriguez is a commercial, like he knows his fan base and he creates films specifically for that market,
Hmm.
you know. And I feel like it's fun to see directors that are fans. You know what I mean? Like Guillermo del Toro. When he makes films, he is the kid. He's that 10-year-old kid wanting to go to the theater to see this film he just made,
Yeah.
you know? And I feel like that's it's fun when there's directors that are out there doing that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's the part where I don't know, we go back to the AI. AI can kind of rip off stuff, but you need someone new to inspire and create something new and interesting. And I just don't know if AI is going to be able to kind of do that.
Well, I think the thing with AI is the same as what we were saying at the dawn of the internet, which is if we're still having the same conversation about AI in 2 years, we're already lost. Well, it's already passed us by.
Right.
Um, it's just moving so fast and changing so fast that it's hard to think where it's going to be in two
I
years
think
even.
I think the real difference is it's so new right now that everybody's thinking about it in this big bubble where everybody that's using an AI thing, they're all using this. It's millions of people are going into the same device to use the AI tools. Whereas if the AI was in your own little machine, in your own little computer, in your own house, no one else would be going in and tampering with it. So if you threw in all your drawings, Chris, and you threw in all your drawings for your show, all of a sudden you could train it on your drawings, and then it's part of your machine that creates your show that you're
But
doing.
But what you have to think about in that, when you say you compartmentalize it and localize it to your own machine,
Yeah,
that's a one-way ticket.
yeah.
So you've got AI coming into your machine to tell it what to do, but you can't send it back out, right?
No, no, it's basically it's hooked up to your machine and it goes out to get information, but only you are telling it what to do with what you have. So it can
But
go out and research.
once you've flattened it and put it out for the world to consume, AI gets it. And all of that effort you spent to
But
try to
it
compartmentalize
is,
it and lock it down is a moot point because AI has it now.
well,
Your
I think
characters are out there, your voiceovers are out there, your actors are out there.
I,
It's
that's the regulation where we need to do the licensing of stuff, I think.
yeah.
I mean, record every song sung, you get a license. Even if you wrote it, you get a license, you get a fee for it, from ASCAP. So, I mean, this stuff exists. It's kind of like
Yeah.
how you have the FCC for the radio, you have the FCC for TV, but you have nothing for the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have nothing to regulate. So it's interesting.
Just not
Anyways,
to switch gears, but Laurel, tell me, so you're in Basalt now. How often do you have an in-house studio or do you go to record on set? You said something about sound stages and going out that way, but
Yeah, good question. So I had a husband and children in LA, and I got divorced in 2010 and was there 10 years single and decided I'm moving to Denver. And you guys will appreciate this story. Annie Cassidy, remember Annie Carlson?
yeah,
Dad was
Mhm.
Bruce Carlson, the dentist in town.
yeah.
I was a year older. I was in Joe's class. Annie and I remained friends throughout our adult life, and but I met her in fifth grade, and she introduced me to my now husband, who is my complete soulmate and the guy I
Cool.
forever wanted to be with my whole life.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is he lived here and he was the tennis pro at the Maroon Creek Club. And I wound up moving back here, which is,
That's
I
Wow.
was
great.
moving to
That is
Denver
wild.
looking at houses. And so what I did, so we met in 2019. Now you guys all know what came March of
Hmm.
2020, right?
Yeah.
So I fortunately had met him. We had purchased a lot to build a home in Basalt, and we met with our architect the day his club closed down, production all closed down. Uh, Obviously going, well, I guess if we have to, we'll sell it. But we moved forward, built a beautiful house. I have a office off my kitchen that's soundproof, and I have a studio because during COVID, I did TV shows from here. I would patch into Warner Brothers,
Cool.
do this, have my own setup. I actually had a computer setup and mic from Warner Brothers. Um, and then I just started to kind of fly back, but it really hasn't happened since the strike. So, but I will have a show this fall and I'll fly back to LA. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Wow. How long, so when you say a show, how long is the show for?
So normally, I mean, gosh, I would used to work on television shows that were nine on the front end, nine on the back end. So there were 18 episodes. And now they're just not doing that anymore, right? With streaming. And there's like 10 episodes in a season, maybe eight.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a one-off of six. I think this one will be 10. I'm not positive. But the days of 18 episodes are over,
Well, you want
sadly.
to know when I got into the industry, you want to know the typical order of a
Was it
TV
like
show?
24? What was it? I want to know.
32
32.
episodes. And then it got down to 24 and now it's down to like
Yes.
10, you know?
Yes. So as you guys know, streaming has completely changed my line
Yeah.
of work, your line of what,
What's
everything. It
can you
just,
can you elaborate on that? The change of streaming versus the old school? Because that's
yeah,
kind of interesting.
definitely. I mean, 2013 is when I really started to roll in voiceovers and television, and we still had cable. Everybody still had cable. I don't know when Netflix launched, but I didn't have it
Right.
then, which is
Right.
so crazy. And you were watching Friends every week,
Yeah.
and you were watching commercials, and we had just gotten TiVo for the
Yeah.
first time. Remember, TiVo was the first DVR.
Yeah.
Um, it's just insane how from 2015 to 2020, what happened.
Yeah.
I just can't even. It's huge, and production, everything changed in the sense of an actor, because then your scale still went up, your contracts were still great for you because I have a union, thank God. Um, but it was all changing, and that's when it really became more cutthroat too, in my business especially. Um, there's dirty stuff that goes on everywhere, but I was not willing to pay someone to give me a job. I just wasn't
Right.
willing to do it. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right,
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I'll move to Colorado.
Hmm.
Well, that whole rat race, once you get into it, then it's the whole thing, and then you're stuck in the
Yeah,
pit. You can't get out. And it is nice to sort of be a little bit of an independent spirit, you know?
completely. And something about the business I'm in too is it is very, very lucrative. And if you're living in a giant house in LA and you're driving giant, beautiful cars and your kids are going to fancy private schools, you can't not be cutthroat. You
Well,
you have to.
The Simpsons is a great example of folks that just all of a sudden,
Yeah,
every single one on the voice person on The Simpsons just blew up, and it was just one show, you know?
totally. Yeah,
Well, that was a pretty huge show, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
It
it
definitely
was.
took off.
But it doesn't happen anymore. I mean, I know a lot of actors who started out, testing on a show and they exploded and they remained the same people. Um, Thankfully there are that handful, right? But it just doesn't happen anymore. The Friends doesn't happen. They're just not giving away those salaries. Those shows aren't happening for 10 years. It's just different, sadly.
Well, I think part of it too is the fact that it was sort of a physical engagement and now it's a technical engagement. And that also is part of, a lot of people don't see the cause and effect until 10 years later when all of a sudden they turn around and go, oh, what happened? You know, and I feel like that's
Totally.
one of the things that's happening is it's great because it's right there, but at the same time, it's also part of getting coffee and bumping into someone that might lead to something else down the road doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, completely. Do you guys listen to Smartless? It's my favorite podcast.
Uh-huh.
Sean Hayes was a friend of mine, Jason Bateman, my kids went to school with, but I love their podcast. And they were just talking about how there's no comedies that you go watch live anymore like there used to be.
Right.
There just aren't those shows in LA, and that's what everyone is craving.
Well, it's
Now you're
interesting.
at home.
Do you think that maybe some of it came from the different type of storytelling that came with serials rather than you know, the old sitcom laugh track kind of thing? Um, and what I'm getting at is, like HBO and all of them, that they started taking the writing arcs that were well in use for a lot of the melodramas and the soap operas and things, and weaving them into bigger productions where you had A-list stars, and all of a sudden you were starting to tell a story that instead of a 2 hour movie, it was now 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Band of Brothers is a perfect example when you think about it. It's not a comedy per se, but you know, that was like the television serial version of Saving Private Ryan, but it was incredible all of a sudden. And I wonder if a lot of that shift has happened since then.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of those, amazing shows, right? I've watched so many shows of streaming and
Yeah.
I've cried when it ended. I just think I think a couple of things have happened. There's so much content that there is such a high demand for different, right? There are a few things that I was like, that was weird. I didn't really love that writing. Like it's just trying to be so out of the box.
Right.
Right.
And again, back to Friends, super simple,
Yeah.
right? Six people living together in New York. Like we don't have that real stuff anymore because everyone's trying to be so outrageous, which is now starting to, I think, make a difference in what people are watching and wanting.
Well, the other thing
Well,
too
I think
is,
you nailed something too there, and I've actually jokingly said that the world's problems right now can be found back in the root of the first writer's strike when reality TV reared its ugly
yeah.
head. And
Oh, that was
Yes.
such a.
anything like
We might
I've
not
had
be
to
where we
explain
are
to people, if
today.
there's more than one camera, it's not it's scripted, so it's not actually it's not real. But yeah, I think a lot of that kind of cut into what you're talking about too, Laurel, is no need for a sitcom. We've got MTV's The Real World or whatever it
Mm.
was.
Well, also too, you're talking about Friends. It didn't matter what episode you saw. It's like Seinfeld. It didn't matter what episode you saw. There wasn't a linear thing. I mean, Sopranos was probably one of the first shows to sort of have a whole season
Yep.
dedicated line after line after line, and now that's kind of common, Breaking Bad. You've got all these other shows where if you watched episode 20, you'd miss a whole bunch of stuff because you didn't see it from the beginning. And that's
Yeah,
kind
the
of a
whole
different kind of entertainment too,
the whole to be continued is it's not used anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously it's going to be continued.
But things like Friends and things like Seinfeld were set up to sort of have a little shot into some character lives. And it was really just for a brief moment. It wasn't like a whole big, huge story. One episode was the whole story, you know? And I feel like that's a different kind of format for shows, you know?
Totally. And I think that our kids are missing out, sadly, because I miss that in television. Movies are different. Let's not even talk about movies. That's a whole other, every weekend I was going to see a movie. Now I haven't been in 7 years to a movie. Isn't that
Yeah,
weird?
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's how it's happened. And there's a lot of movie theaters in LA that are shut down.
yeah,
Hollywood just can't, it's gotta give at some point, which is so interesting.
yeah. It's really weird to be in this again in that stage where we're old school and we
Yeah.
used to go line up and do all of the opening night of the movies and all that stuff. And to now where it's like, I mean, big chain theaters are shutting down in areas and stuff, and the art house theaters are few and far.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because everybody's got a big TV screen from, Costco.
Yep. No, exactly. I'm already making plans for my next movie. That's the F1, Brad Pitt. Yeah, that's it. That's in July.
Hi, this is Growing Up Aspen. Glad you enjoyed that last little blast, and I hope you stick around for a few more. We want to, the authors of Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, would like to thank you and ask you to, if you're interested, you can check out our book at twistandturnpress.com, or any local bookstore can order our book. So we will talk to you soon and hear more from some of our friends. Thanks.